Now, we're in another international break, unfortunately, which means a 2-week break from watching Liverpool play. But if there is an upside to these breaks, it's a good opportunity, isn't it, to really assess how Liverpool are doing so far. And that kind of feels particularly important when you've got a new man at the helm in Arne Slot. And of course, the headline figures so far, they're looking pretty good. Obviously, Liverpool go into this second international break top of the Premier League, which perhaps not many really expected. And they're also 2 from 2 in the Champions League, which makes it 9 wins out of 10 for Arne Slot. Just that one defeat. And incredibly, that's actually the best start that any Liverpool manager has ever made to the career at Anfield. I mean, the closest anyone's got is W.E. Barkley, who won 8 out of his first 10. Of course, he is the club's first ever manager, so that's quite a while ago. And even Bob Paisley only managed 7 wins out of 10. And I suppose in terms of how you judge that, there's a couple of sides of the debate. Obviously, Slot inherited a good situation, but of course Bob Paisley definitely did as well. He came in straight after Bill Shankly, but obviously modern win percentages have gone up. The bigger clubs do tend to win more frequently, so it's hard to really put that in historical context, really, and maybe not a fair judgment or fair pressure even to put on Arne Slot in terms of what can be expected of him from this point onwards. So I thought it's best to go a little bit deeper, really, and have a look at the numbers behind the numbers to see whether Liverpool have deserved this good start and whether we can expect that it will continue as things go forward throughout this season. And as ever, when I do these videos, these assessments, I'm going to split it into 2 halves, really, and I'm going to start with the defence and having a look at that. Now, the reason I start with that is because I think it was probably one of the most important things that Arne Slot could look to fix with this team this season. Obviously, in the last couple of seasons under Jurgen Klopp, there was a little bit of leakiness there from Liverpool. They did look at times a little bit easy to score against. It's why they were involved in so many thrilling games, particularly last season. I mean, they did win a lot of them, that we conceded a lot of goals. And okay, when I say conceded a lot of goals, I think they were comfortably the 3rd best defence in the league by a long way, actually. But their benchmark really is Manchester City and Arsenal, isn't it? They're the 2 clubs that Liverpool want to get close to and keep the challenge going deep into a Premier League season. And when you compare by that benchmark, obviously Liverpool conceded 41 goals last season, Manchester City 34, and Arsenal just 29. So it was clear coming into this season there were gains to be made in that area. And you'd have to say, we're only 7 games into the Premier League season, but clear gains have been made. I mean, like the baseline statistics is that Liverpool have conceded just 2 Premier League goals so far, 3 in all competitions, by the way. But I'm just going to use Premier League statistics because it's easier to measure rather than adding them all together. And of course, to compare that to other teams in the Premier League at the moment, the only teams who are anywhere close to Liverpool in terms of their 2 goals conceded is Nottingham Forest with 6 and Arsenal with 6. Now, that shows you that Nottingham Forest are actually a decent side, and they're, of course, the only team who have defeated Liverpool so far this season. And also Arsenal, we know how strong defensively they are as well. So for Liverpool to be clear in that way is very impressive, really, in terms of the start. But obviously, you've got to ask, again, do they deserve that? Is that a lucky run? Is Alisson pulling off some incredible saves? Are they getting a bit fortunate in that? But fortunately, the underlying numbers suggest that Liverpool are defensively a very strong team. Now, they have the best record in terms of expected goals against in the Premier League so far. Just 5.1 expected goals conceded. Now, again, that is the best, as I say, and other teams aren't really quite close to that benchmark. The second best is Aston Villa with 6.8, and then the third best, again, is Arsenal, who we know are very, very strong with 7.2. So those underlying numbers really do suggest that Liverpool are strong defensively, and the reason that they're not giving up an awful lot of XG is because they don't give up a lot of shots in games to the opposition. Now, the best measure of that is shots per 90 faced so far this season, and Liverpool are 3rd best in the Premier League for that with 9.14 faced. Again, two other teams just slightly better. Tottenham with 8.71, which I actually find quite surprising given that they are a little bit leaky, Tottenham. Maybe they're just giving up very good opportunities when they do give them up. And top of the pile, another team who are always impressive defensively is Manchester City with 7.86. So again, if you aren't giving up very many shots, the opposition aren't going to generate a lot of expected goals, and in theory it follows then that you don't concede many goals, and so as you can see there, I think Liverpool are very good in that. And I want to give you kind of another indication as well of when they do give up shots that they're not giving up high quality opportunities is just by bringing up a couple of shot maps. So start with the one from Crystal Palace away. Obviously a game where Liverpool were fantastic for 60 minutes. I think the shot count at half-time was 8-1 in Liverpool's favour, and that one shot that Palace took actually came in the 46 minutes, so as dominant as you can get. But obviously the last half an hour of that game, Palace did start to pile on a little bit of pressure and get some opportunities, which I think is partly mitigated by Liverpool played Champions League in midweek. They had 2 injuries during the game, and obviously Palace had a lot of time to prepare for that, so they were obviously going to come on strong, particularly at home. But you do look at the opportunities on this shot map here that Liverpool gave up to Palace, and you can see there's almost just a huge gap in the middle of the box there. There's almost like there's a wall there that Palace can't pass into, and they've got to take shots from outside of that. And I think that speaks to the fact that when Liverpool do give up the shots, as I say, and it's something Slot has spoken about, they make sure they've got bodies back. They make it difficult to get shots through in that central area, and so they're very, very low quality opportunities, even when sides get them, and that's why they're keeping the expected goals low, even when teams are getting shots off against them. And I think a similar story actually against Wolves, which is another one I want to show you here in terms of the shot map. Now you can see one shot right there in the centre, a bit from a basically unmissable distance, and that of course is the Wolves goal. But I have to say that with that goal, Liverpool effectively set it up themselves, didn't it? A string of mistakes, really, before the ball kind of deflects quite fortuitously into Ait Nouri's path, and then he obviously has the opportunity then to pass it home. But outside of that, again, look at the shots that Wolves were forced to take and where they were around the box. They're from distance, they're from the edges of the area, they're from angles where it will be difficult to beat the goalkeeper. So I think both those shot maps show that Liverpool are not allowing many shots, but when they do, they are very, very low quality. So that is a very, very important factor in terms of being a defensively good side, and again supports the idea that we are watching a side that deserves to have a good defensive record, and maybe we'll be able to continue that going forward throughout the season. Now, another factor I just do want to quickly touch on around the defence as well is in terms of set pieces. Now, Liverpool are one of just 4 teams in the Premier League so far who have yet to concede a single goal from a set piece this season, and I think that is important because it was seen as kind of an area for improvement coming into this season. Last season, Liverpool conceded 10 goals from set pieces in the Premier League, which was around kind of mid-table, really. And the 2 sides who were much better than them, Arsenal conceded just 7 and City just 3, which is really, really impressive. I mean, it does help clearly when you have 4 centre-halves playing across your back 4. I think having that physicality massively helps in terms of that. But Liverpool already showing an improvement in that area, and again, they want to make gains there, and that is one of the reasons that Aaron Briggs is looking after the set pieces at the moment. They're not going to get, or it's my understanding, they're not really hunting for a set piece coach at the moment because they're so impressed by what Aaron Briggs has done. And you have to say on the defensive side, they are showing clear improvement there. Obviously, they've got to keep it going. But if you can concede a low amount of set pieces, again, just makes you more defensively strong. It's fewer goals added onto your goal against tally at the end of the season. So really, really important. I'm going to move on to the attack now. And I think one of the things you would maybe worry about a team that has just suddenly become more defensively solid is that it might have come at the expense of the attacking output, and perhaps you would find it harder to score goals because they're much more focused on being solid and balanced in that sense. But I think the good news is that the early signs are positive on this front. Liverpool have scored 13 goals so far in the Premier League season. Only Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea and City are better in that regard thus far, and the expected goals for looks pretty promising as well. Liverpool 13.8 so far. That has them tied third with Manchester City, just Chelsea with 14.4 and Tottenham 14.8 ahead of them, and they're both teams who kind of leak goals and are not very well balanced at times. So I think the fact that Liverpool are tied with Manchester City is really encouraging. One area you would say you would want to see a slight improvement so far is that you do want to overperform your expected goals if you can do. I think that the top teams generally do tend to do that, and Liverpool just slightly by 0.8 are underperforming theirs at the moment. And the reason I say it's important is because Manchester City and Arsenal both overperformed their expected goals last season. Liverpool actually wiped the floor with both of them in terms of expected goals for, but actually because of a huge underperformance in Liverpool and they both overperformed, City and Arsenal actually did end up scoring more goals than Liverpool last season. So we're seeing that slight underperformance early doors, and again, I just think that's something Slot will want to stamp out. He'll want that to see some improvement in that regard, because the top teams do tend to overperform XG, but of course you can get on a little purple patch. It's still very, very early doors, and maybe as the season progresses we'll start to see that from Liverpool. The good players will start to show what they're all about, and the expected goals versus goals will start to, as I say, see that slight overperformance. That's really important. So in terms of other underlying numbers around the attack, now shots for so far this season, Liverpool have taken 106, which puts them 7th in the Premier League, which is not too bad. It does actually look like quite a drop off from last season, where again, they were top for expected goals for, they were top for shots taken as well last season. But I think where you would say there's mitigating factors, and I think something that might actually be crucial this season, is the fact that Liverpool's shots on target percent is 39.6. Now last season it was just 33.7, and that again suggests to me that this more controlled system we're seeing under Slot, this patience where they want to wait for a better opportunity rather than just taking a shot at the first chance they get. I think that is maybe a measure of that, and so maybe Liverpool taking slightly fewer shots, but they're taking better shots. And again, that's something I spoke about in terms of maybe wanting to see from Arne Slot's side. Again, I'm sure you want to see that shot count climb. He would like to see better, and Liverpool slightly higher than 7th. But I think in terms of getting more shots on target, that is really important. They're making better opportunities, and in terms of where that ranks in terms of the shots on target percentage of 39.6, it actually puts them 5th in the Premier League. But there's Brentford ahead of them, who I think are a huge outlier with 50.6. I expect that will slowly come down as the season progresses. And the fact is, 5th for Liverpool is a huge improvement, because last season, even though they were getting so many shots, they were around mid-table really for shots on target percentage. So again, it just speaks to that idea of wanting to create better opportunities and better chances, and looking to do that, and clearly that is kind of working. Now they maybe do want to just take slightly more shots, and we'll see how that kind of plays out. But I still think it's something that supports the idea that this is a good attacking unit, and Liverpool haven't really lost anything because of the fact that they're defending slightly better so far this season. Now, I ended the defence by talking about set-piece goals, and I also want to talk about them from an attacking perspective. Now, just one for Liverpool so far this season in the Premier League. Arsenal leading the way with 3. Now, Liverpool do actually have 2 set-piece goals, which he scored in Milan, if you'll remember, in the Champions League. So they're not doing too badly in that regard. But again, they want to keep showing improvement, I think, in the Premier League in this regard. They were 5th last season for set-piece goals, which again is not too bad at all. But you know that City, and particularly Arsenal, are so dangerous in terms of attacking set pieces, and they get so many cheap goals in that way. So Liverpool just won so far from 7 games in the Premier League. They will want to keep improving that, and as I say, Aaron Briggs and his team of analysts will absolutely be working to get more out of that. Now, another thing I want to talk about actually before I finish in terms of looking at the attack as well is the shot maps. And again, I'm just going to take them from the Crystal Palace and Wolves game again, because I think they're both really good indicators of what Liverpool do well. Both really tight games, but again, I think that the opportunities that Liverpool created in both those games, they could have run away with them really, and I think the shot maps again show you this. So I'll just bring up the Crystal Palace one again, a game Liverpool dominated for around 60 minutes. You look at the concentration of where the shots are. That is a team really that should have scored more goals and should be scoring more goals, and you hope that was just maybe a little bit of bad luck, maybe a bit of misfortune, and then that will level out. But in terms of creating shots in that central part, the area that Liverpool want to stop the opposition getting shots in, you can really see that they're doing very well in that. And similarly against Wolves, again, just piling the shots in those central areas. So Liverpool under Arne Slot, they really do seem to be, getting shots in good areas, shots that will tend to lead to scoring goals, and that is so important. And again, the defence is better, but the attack is still looking pretty good. So that, to me, suggests it's a really sort of well-balanced side that is good on both sides of the ball. Now, just to summarise, I just want to pick out another few important talking points, and one of those is the fact that, look, there's no getting away from the fact that Liverpool have had a kind start in terms of what the fixture list looks like. They've only played one top half team so far, and it's Nottingham Forest who actually beat them at Anfield. And although I do think they will take a few scalps away at big teams, which they also did with Chelsea actually just last weekend. But I think Liverpool know that there are a bigger test to come. Some huge games the other side of the international break where they've really got an opportunity to prove that for all these good underlying numbers and the good performances under Slot, they can also do it against bigger teams and put themselves really into title contention by winning a few of these big games. So that's really, really important test that is coming up in the coming weeks. Now, another area I also think they maybe want to show some improvement in is sometimes some of that sloppiness in possession. I think the Wolves game potentially the worst for that. Well, actually, maybe Nottingham Forest at home, but I thought Wolves, in terms of games that Liverpool won, where I thought that game they really could have taken it out of sight, but they just continually kept giving up the ball to Wolves and making it difficult for themselves. And I think that rest possession when they're leading games and seeing things out, yes, they're not giving good opportunities away, but if you keep surrendering possession in the way that Liverpool have done at times this season, then you are probably going to get caught out by bigger and better teams. So they really do probably need to work on that. And I think, Palace away was a good example of me, actually, for the first 60 minutes. So controlled, only giving up one shot in the first half. Palace could not get near the ball in that first 60 minutes. And then in the last half hour, that sloppiness crept in again. But that first 60 minutes is a really good blueprint of how you control an away game, really, and keep the ball from the opposition, which means that they can't then create opportunities to shoot. Another thing we want to be looking at as well is injuries. The record so far, and obviously there's been that blow to Alisson with his hamstring injury. It's going to keep him out till the next international break. But otherwise, the record's been pretty good so far. Much better than the start to last season. Jota's staying fit so far. Konate's staying fit so far, which have been two real big important tests for the medical staff so far, and they seem to be passing them, so that's important. You hope it's not just good luck and that luck is going to run out at some point. If Liverpool can keep getting the players on the pitch as consistently as possible, I do think that is worth a few points going forward, so hopefully again that will be something. But all that said, all these caveats I'm throwing in terms of injuries, the fixture list, the sloppiness in possession, the fact remains that Liverpool fans could not really have asked for a better start to life under Arne Slot than this. Top of the Premier League, 2 out of 2 in the Champions League, 9 wins from 10. It's all going really, really well so far, and I think that should excite everyone going into these big fixtures that are coming up. This looks like a very good football team. Let's see how it gets on in the big games, and I personally very excited to see how Liverpool face those tests and how they can get on, and really already looking forward to the international break being over, and I'm sure you guys are absolutely feeling the same. Now, do let me know what you think in the comments. How impressed have you been so far? How do you think Liverpool are going to get on in these bigger tests that are coming on, and what's been the thing that surprised or pleased you most about Arne Slot so far? Maybe it's his press conferences, the tactics, the way he sorted out the defence so quickly. Do let me know in the comments. Always interested to hear your thoughts, and if you can like this video, would massively appreciate it. And anyone new, please do subscribe. We do match coverage from Anfield and cover every match at home and away. Press conferences. I'm really close to Liverpool, so hopefully can bring you insight and detail and background on everything that's going on at Anfield. So please do hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to leave it there. More analysis to come over the international break for sure, and I'm sure it'll be over soon, and we'll be back into press conferences and matches as well. So looking forward to that, and I'll see you guys very soon.